church, we celebrate the obligatory memorial of St. Joseph the Worker. And before I get into that, I want to address one thing out of this gospel because it's a point of contention, and sometimes our Protestant brothers and sisters use this and say, see, look, it can only mean one thing, that the Blessed Virgin Mary is not really virgin. Here are brothers. See? It says so right there. Sure. But even in our own day and age, the word brothers is sometimes used in a very extended form. I was in a fraternity for 6 years at OSU. I had many fraternity brothers. I was in the seminary for more than 6 years. Those were my seminarian brothers. I am now a priest, part of this large priesthood, and we are priestly brothers. The other thing is that the community quickly received the title of Christians of being brothers and sisters, to the point that the Roman Emperor Nero thought it was very strange that they were marrying their brothers and sisters. So even he got it wrong. But there are many usages of familiar terms. My aunt in my mom's side is not technically my aunt. She's my third cousin, blah, 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 removed, blah, 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 blah. As soon as you start to get into a large family, I think you can appreciate that it's just easier to call her my aunt, my uncle, instead of my cousin or my cousin removed, blah, blah, blah. She's always been an aunt to me. She couldn't be anything but my aunt. So in this, when you sit there and say, well, there's only one way to look at this, and this is the way that we literally take this, therefore it can only have one usage, well, sorry. But even at this time, the word had a great expansive meaning. After all, they all grew up in small towns, and all those who ran together of the same age were considered brothers. Just like we might call it here a class for school. They were all in the same class. But all of that aside, it's not dispositive of the tradition of the 2,000 years of unbroken interpretation of this passage as not unseating the virginity of the Blessed Virgin Mary, nor to indicate that Jesus had any other brothers and sisters. One of the best supports for this is the crucifixion, where John the Beloved is given the care of Mary. It would seem inconceivable, highly offensive, and downright not done in the Jewish tradition to hand off your mother to some stranger to her, some other person, if there had been a living relative left to care for her. It's unthinkable. All that aside, we're here to talk about St. Joseph the Worker. Why does he get this extra title on? Because we have another feast day for St. Joseph. In fact, we had a beautiful space out here, the altar of St. Joseph. And we already celebrated that a while ago. Why now, then, do we have St. Joseph the Worker? One, because it is a very important remembrance of what St. Joseph's role was. He was a provider, a protector. He was the breadwinner, but also guaranteed the home. He was put at the tasks that he was to do. One of the things I think is a real tragedy is that we have a lot of statues of St. Joseph as being kind of weak. But that is not really contextual. He was a carpenter, requiring a great amount of upper body strength, not just to do all of the rest of the work of carpentry, but especially, not limited to, him carrying the lumber from the port to his workshop. There were laws in the Jewish time to govern how and what kind of offense there was if somebody a carpenter carrying wood to his workshop were to break a pot in the marketplace, depending on how narrow the streets were, determined what his culpability or lack thereof was. This goes back to remind us St. Joseph was no scrawny guy. Powerful, but also powerful in his quietness. We hear not a word spoken by St. Joseph in the Scriptures. Doesn't need to have a lot of words to have an important presence. He guarded the Holy Family throughout their exile from Jerusalem. Irony of ironies, the Israelites were exiled, left their time in Egypt to go to the Holy Land. Jesus did the reverse. He went from the Holy Land to Egypt and then back again. The Holy Family was protected the whole time by St. Joseph and guided, led, cared for. What a terrible thing to end up in Egypt with the only skill that the Egyptians had no need of. They had cut down all of their trees to make the pyramids. There were no trees, lumber, or carpenters left in Egypt. Therefore, there had to be something else for him to do. Also, there was a different language. He didn't necessarily have a report card that said he did great in his Egyptian classes. But going into a new place, they had to figure out how to live, how to be, and also how to maintain their faith. These things we see that Joseph provided for. In this worker title, it's a beautiful thing in that opening prayer that God gave work as a dignity, not a curse of original sin, because already in the garden, Adam had been given tasks for his labor. It was not that these things were evil. Oh, if only we could get to the beautiful utopia of not having to work. No, in fact, there's something fundamental, even psychological, in men if they don't have a project or don't have anything to do. Some of the wives maybe say, if you live at home with someone who's retired, you have to quickly get the husband back to doing something, or he'll drive you crazy. It's necessary. It's good. It's part of our essence. And because of that, it is uplifted in St. Joseph today. Even in this gospel reading, it reminds us that he was the carpenter's son. It was known, Joseph's talent, Joseph's ability. Again, quietly, silently. But it was known. It spoke for itself. His works spoke for themselves. This, too, is good for us. St. Joseph also continues to work, now in a different way, as protector of the universal church and the terror of demons. He is also the patron of chastity, something which our world desperately needs right now. In all of these things, he has not stopped working. He has taken on these new tasks that the Lord has put before him, and he engages them with his whole will. So should we. What does the Lord have set out for us? What work does he call us to? What are the things that we ought to be about? And do we, like the psalmist, ask the Lord to give success to those works? Or do we just do them all by ourselves? Saying, well, I got to get this done. I need to do this. I need to make sure this gets accomplished. Or do we say, Lord, bless this work that I'm about. Bless this task before I undertake it. Bring success, O Lord, your grace. Do we rely upon it and give thanks to God for the talents and the abilities he's enriched us with, that we can do these works, can do these accomplishments, these great feats. When was the last time that we gave thanks to God that we have been talented? We have been able to be enriched, lifted up, that we have increased our abilities and skills over our lifetimes. There are many things maybe you can't do, but how many things have you been able to do in your lifetime? How many things are you equipped, have a talent for, an ability? Do we not give thanks to the Lord for these things? Do we not dedicate those talents to His glory? Do we not silently bear witness through the things that we do to the heavenly kingdom? Let us ask the intercession and direction of St. Joseph the Worker today.